Thank you guys so much for coming out to this show. Michael Parallax is about to play. I just wanted to say a little something about Total Bummer. It's a festival we're putting on, and there's going to be over 80 bands, and they're from all over the country. They're from Baltimore, and from New York, and from Austin, and from Boston, and Wisconsin, and they're from Gainesville. We got like honestly about half the bands are from Gainesville and from the Southeast, so it's like very much a Florida thing. But there's 80 bands from all over the world, and we're going to be playing right here. It's like, well, we're ready to pee in your face. So you guys should buy your tickets. We're totally ready to pee in your face. It's up to you. You want to be peed on the face. So yeah. That's all I have to say. Michael Parallax is coming up next. He's gonna do an awesome job. Awesome, great job. Awesome job. Great job.
Well, my name's JT Bringardner, and I started Spirit Cat with Nick Lamberth and members of O Fortuna, who we started O Fortuna maybe, God, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago. I met Nick at a Broken Social Scene concert, and we kind of hit it off and talked about playing music together, and like kind of shared a lot of our influences, and we had a lot of like things. A lot of similarities, a lot of like the things that really struck out was like Nick's wanting to do something, you know, like pop music, but also something that was kind of like extreme and experimental, and something that really like involved people. I think in some ways, like the formation of O Fortuna brought about the formation of Spirit Cat, because Spirit Cat basically came about after we were around. We did O Fortuna for about 2 years, and for the start of it, we just tried to play shows anywhere we could, like anywhere that would have us, basically, and we played all around town. We played at 1982 a lot, and we played at the Atlantic, and we kind of started developing a following. But it was strange for us because we didn't really have a home here, because we were making electronic music in a town that was, you know, really famous and kind of like popular for punk music, and there's a lot about the punk aesthetic that I think I liked and was drawn to at the time, but I just don't enjoy punk music. So, you know, like I want to make pop music, and there wasn't really anyone else, like there wasn't anyone we could have a dialogue with as far as like making electronic music, and I kind of had to realize that we just had to make dialogue with ourselves, you know, and eventually we ended up doing a kind of splitting up, not splitting off from O Fortuna, but we kind of like widened our focus and started working on different projects and kind of like started inbreeding, basically, and that's kind of how Spirit Cat started. And that's when I started also realizing that there was so many amazing electronic acts from Florida that you know, just like weren't A, getting attention, and B, like that no one was really like, there wasn't like a real live atmosphere for those shows, like, or you know, for those shows to happen. And so that's kind of where Spirit Cat, like, in my mind, started. Was like, well, man, I really want to make live music, live electronic music, something that, you know, happens in Florida, and something that I don't know, like I wanted to kind of carve my own path.
So I guess that's kind of where the idea for the Total Bummer Fest came from. It's like,
yeah,
wanted to create like a live.
The idea for Total Bummer came about kind of because I was like, well, let me sit down and try to create like a dream festival where all my favorite like underground bands, all my favorite like a lot of bands that I've just been reading about or listening to over the last 2 or 3 years. I was like, let me see how many of them I can get together to come to Gainesville. And that's the sad thing about making electronic music in Gainesville, is there's not like a lot of my favorite acts and a lot of my favorite musicians like don't come to Gainesville, and they don't come to Florida. They like kind of leave it out. They'll go to Athens or they'll go to Atlanta, and sometimes they'll go to Tallahassee, but it's like they usually dip out of Florida after that, or else they go to Miami and fly out. So it's like, that's kind of a frustration, and that's part of what I was trying to do even with Total Bummer, is put Gainesville on the map for electronic music. And
I was at a couple of the shows at Total Bummer, and I gather it went off pretty well, especially since you've had these like follow-up festivals.
Yeah, like it's been cool. Like I was really, and still am in a lot of ways, like kind of naive to the whole business side of it. And even with like this whole Skeletron thing, I'm also seeing that to organize a thing that's 40 bands over three days, like I can't do it by myself either. Like, so that's where Spirit Cat really comes into play. Is like it needs to be a collective, and it needs to be bigger than me. Like, and it is bigger than me, and it's like it's not something I can continue to maintain just in my bedroom, or it's like it's something that it needs community investment, and it needs community like development, like and that's when Spirit Cat will really strive.
So I guess one of the things you touched on a little while ago is that you described Spirit Cat as more of a collective than a traditional recording company, I guess.
Yeah.
How is that different? Like,
well, it's a collective is kind of like a lazy way of saying that we're a label that doesn't put out any music. Because I would love to be a legit label one day, and we're working to that end, like now, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to take money, and it's going to take organization, and it's going to take a team, of people. So we say we're a collective, I guess, because of the need for the collective, the events that we put on strive because it's a collective effort, and because it's not just one person's vision saying this is what we're doing, and it really is a community effort.
So yeah, I guess you guys are obviously sort of like outside the mainstream music business at this point, I guess. And it sounds like you guys kind of want to eventually, move into that, I guess more like large scale type scene. But at the same time, like, do you guys? How do you guys view the mainstream music industry, I guess, relative to what you're trying to do? Like,
it's like the mainstream music scene. It's kind of discouraging in a lot of ways. Like, even like I guess like you see how it's so parasitic, and how it's so similar to like politics, and it's so similar to like almost any institution in this country, where it's like, if you have you have this corruption that takes place, like, and the music industry is certainly not exempt from it, like, and so that's kind of like just discouraging, because you wonder if you can even try to run the gamut and not corrupt yourself, like, and if that's even possible. And so I try not to even, we don't really even think about that. I mean, like, granted, I'm trying to get, like, we're trying to get our records out, and like trying to find some kind of label interest, but we're looking on a much smaller scale. Like, I'm not like talking to we're not trying to like knock on Interscope still, or like to Warner Brothers or something like that, so, but like and that's not, in some ways, like, it's just not the right home for a musician, or a group like us, like, and eventually I would love to be a legit indie label. That would be something that would just be like a dream for me, and that to me is like the closest I want to get to like mainstream success. Even if it means we don't ever like really make it big, I feel like at least we'll have that purity, which is really what we're about, is like that level of just like of joy, and I feel like we would corrupt that joy by like kind of, I don't know, going an alternate route, or even being too concerned with what's going on.